say something. Just like that. So, it's a new episode of Movies in Minutes, guys. This week I have my friend Tyler on. How you doing today, Tyler?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Not bad. So usually we start out these segments with me asking you what type of movies you like in general. And one thing I kind of want to point out too, and I mean, this is just something that you and me know, above, a lot of my friends, kind of watch movies a little bit more casually than you and I. And we go a little bit more frequently. I mean, I know you've got movie pass. I mean, I've got it. Obviously work and life and things get in the way, but you definitely go more than some of the people that I've had on. But yeah, so I mean, like, what type of things like really interest you in terms of like what you like watching or what you would go see?
So, like you said, I am definitely someone who watches more than most. So I'm more open. Uh, I would say I love thrillers. That's probably my favorite. Just like always like trying to figure out what's going to happen next. That's like generally like the movie I like the most. But I love all superhero movies. The only thing I would say is my I don't really love. I'm not really a big fan of horror movies, just because like they feel very samey. It's like, oh, a spooky thing is gonna possess you. You gotta kill it. Everybody dies. Like there are some movies
Yeah.
in that genre that are not super generic, but yeah, that's my only dislike.
Now, when you say thriller, I mean, I know there are plenty of suspense thrillers that don't necessarily, that can exist without being horror. But I mean, there are also a fair amount of horror movies that I would say are also suspense thrillers. I mean, do you watch any of those?
Yes, I would say I do. Like when I say I'm not a big fan of horror, I just mean like I'm not a big fan of like the generic like spooky, ghost
Yes.
horror, but like movies that like are like right like what was that one with the phone? I forgot. Like he gets kidnapped and he gets stuck in the basement, and he like there's like a phone that picks up. You remember what I'm talking about? And like the villain has like a mask. I forget what the movie is called. It was recent, like the Black Phone, I think.
Oh, yeah, I really like that one. That one was different. Yeah, the Black Phone.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
like
Black.
that's technically horror, but like I thought
Yeah,
that was pretty
the
cool.
Black
Like
Phone. You got it.
yeah, yeah, like that was
Was that
I'm
was that like one that you liked? Mm-hmm.
oh,
That one definitely stood out. And I was gonna say I definitely think that was one of Ethan Hawke's better roles too.
oh yeah,
Like he had a lot of range in that one. He had to play good, bad, you know, scary, all of it,
I
all
agree.
behind the mask too. Um, all right, so thriller, suspense. I'm trying to think if anything that I gave you today kind of falls one out of the three movies that I sent you today, which I think by the end you can guess which one it is. What was the first movie I gave you a trailer for today?
The first one was uh, let me just check real quick the name of it. I believe it was the Past Lives.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was the first one.
All right,
Uh,
and what did that trailer do for you? What did you think of that?
at first I was like when like the past seemed to be like she's already married
Mm-hmm.
and she's like seeing this other guy and there might be romantic tension. At first I was like, I don't know if I like the idea of like I'm trying to think of a word like like
Audrey Love affair.
yeah like 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 you're cheating, I guess. It felt kind of weird, but then like the more I watched the trailer, the more I thought that like it's a little bit more than that and it's complicated. And like
Mhm.
I guess spoiler those three movies, that's probably the one that I'll be most excited to go see because it does seem fairly like complicated.
Darn it, you're jumping the gun here, but that is the one that I think that you would like the most of the three we're going to talk about today.
Okay.
So it's kind of a love story, and it's kind of broken up over 3 periods of the main characters' lives, and it's like sixth grade, and they're both 12 years old. It's like 24 years old, and they're both kind of like, maybe just out of college, but still kind of trying to find their way in the world. And then like 36, and they're kind of where they're at, but it's like they check in with them every kind of 12 years. And it's an A24 movie, and to date, A24 has not really disappointed me. They tend to just be like slightly higher quality films, and there's a lot of layers. It's not just a love story. It doesn't go where you think it will. And there's a lot of it does a lot to avoid tropes, which I love. Um, what about it? What about it makes you feel like you would? I mean, do you feel like you would go see it, like in
Oh
the
yeah,
theater?
definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I will say, like when I saw the A24 in the
Mhm.
trailer, I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, this is probably gonna be pretty good. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't know, just like I think the trailer like conveyed the drama very well enough to where like you said, like I walked away at the end of that trailer knowing that like it wasn't gonna be like as
Typical.
like yeah. So and then and like I mean like in all mainstream media, I don't think you see like like Korean like especially in like
Right.
mainstream like Western movies, and that seems pretty cool. That's something that
Yeah.
I'm definitely down for.
I mean, when I saw a different movie last week, which I'm not sure if you've seen or plan to see, but it was a comedy, Joyride, and that dealt a little bit with Korean stuff too. And it really feels like anytime we see Korean in this day and age, it's the first thought is K-pop, and
Yeah,
I mean that's what that's kind of how they tried to tie themselves to Korea. And past lives is sort of the opposite. It's like, okay, we have an entire culture and traditions and mannerisms that are not the things that you know about us. And I mean, like I said, I definitely think of the three that we're going to talk about, this one would probably be the most appealing. I gave this one personally out of 5. I gave it 5 stars. So
well,
yeah. Um, um, So yeah, I mean, if you do end up watching that one, definitely let me know what you think. Because I'll be curious to see what you think once you kind of get the other side of it, and you're, you know, past the trailers, and you're really kind of just sitting with the story after it's done. Um, what was the second trailer I sent you?
uh, I'm gonna look up the name real quick, but I know it had to do with like oh, the Sound of Freedom, Sound of Freedom. I might be saying that wrong. It might be Sound of Freedom, but yeah, the
Okay. Yeah.
kidnapping one.
Mhm. Yeah. Yep. Sound of Freedom. So what did that trailer convey to you in terms of what you think the story was about?
I'm really conflicted. Like on one hand, like it looks like a decent like a style like Taken slash like like I'm trying to think of another like a almost like a not a war movie but
Like
like an action yeah
action?
like a yeah like but it is a very sensitive subject and it it's one of those things where like I mean if someone was like hey you want to go watch it I would be like totally but like I don't know if I don't know if I would watch that on my own just because like it's definitely like I don't know if I'm conveying this very well, but I didn't watch a movie going like, oh man, this is like sweet. I was like, ooh, like child like
Yeah.
trafficking is like
So
a real rough.
it kind of makes you feel uncomfortable, and it's sort of
Yeah, that's
I,
probably the
I guess
point.
yeah, and you kind of have to approach movies like that one of two ways. Either you're I kind of like what you said. You're not excited because the subject matter. It'd be weird to get excited about it, but it's almost like you're excited to see if you can survive that uncomfortableness.
Right.
Or the other side of it is you're too uncomfortable with just seeing the trailer and probably wouldn't watch the film. Um, So, it's so yeah, I get that. I know you said like kidnapping and uncomfortable. Did you get it like a sense for what you thought the overall plot though was?
Oh yeah. So that, like, basically, from my understanding, he is not so like he's just going after the people that do the trafficking, not necessarily saving the children themselves. And like it's putting emphasis on like, hey, like you should probably like be more
Hmm.
focused on that. And then him like struggling
That's really
with
interesting.
doing
Yeah,
his job and saving children.
that's really interesting. It's almost um, it's weird because this is one of the movies that I didn't see the trailer for before I went and saw it. It was more just like I saw that it was on the docket, so I went and saw it. And first and foremost, the attempt to try to see the movie was kind of ridiculous. On Fourth of July, the first showing for the movie was noon, and
Oh,
I mean you've been to our local theater many times. I have never seen a movie showing 100% sold out. And
ooh,
Sound of Freedom at noon on Fourth of July was 100% sold out.
yeah,
I don't know what variables factored into that. If the movie is just getting a lot of press, because I didn't see any. But I might not be looking in the right places. Maybe just because it was a holiday, maybe because it was a hot day. But
I mean,
it's
I I will say it does like not to bring politics in this too much, but it did feel a little like Christiany. Like it felt like very like leaning right. So I feel like that might be the general audience. Not saying that there's anything necessarily wrong with that, but that's kind of what I got. So like I didn't see anything about it either until you sent me a trailer. So that's
Mhm.
probably like where it seemed a little more indie
that's
than
and that's that was I mean that's always my draw to a lot of movies too because if nobody else is talking about it, I'm curious to find out why. And there's a lot of indie movies that are great, and it's just they have bad PR. Um, so one thing I'll say, and I don't want this to be a spoiler necessarily, but the take that you took away from the trailer, which is a totally valid take, because I believe you, I know you're a very perceptive person, so if that's the take that you got, I'm sure that's what they were trying to convey. It's almost kind of like they were hoodwinking you though, because it's kind of the opposite in the movie.
okay,
He kind of cares more about the kids than he does about going letter of the law, following the books, that sort of thing.
okay,
And I mean, like, that's a really typical thing. Like, it's more fun for us when we're seeing the cop not follow the rules versus, being like studious. Movies would end if that's how movie cops were. They're like, well, I'm sitting here at my desk. I'm not chasing after this person. Um, but what's sort of weird about this one too is I think maybe the name maybe evoked like feelings of patriotism with people given when it came out, and he does some arguably unpatriotic things in the pursuit of helping these kids, which again, like, loyalty to the country versus like saving children. I'm sure most people we know what we would pick. But it was kind of ironic given that it came out on Fourth of July. He kind of has to work outside his job in order to try to help save some of these kids because it stops being an American problem because he works for a government agency that's not one of the ones that is meant to really go abroad. So, um, the only thing I'll say about this movie, and you're kind of right, like with the whole Taken vibes. Um, there's a spot. I mean, the movie is very primarily about child trafficking. Like, I don't know if we'll like either of us have like outright said that, but that's the primary focus about like traffickers, people that are customers, and the people trying to stop it. And it's supposed to be based on a true story. I'm not sure what parts were true and what aren't. But there hits a point in the movie when it very. Have you ever seen like any of these like biopicy or based on true story movies where like right at the end they like slap like statistics up on the screen? They
yeah,
start talking about like so many so and so's or would be like trafficked every year would be like the one that would pertain to this. There's a spot, and I if you ever end up watching it, I I would love to see if you could pick it out. But there's a spot where like, something happens to a bunch of the antagonists. We get like a wide shot of like the sunset, and it really feels like that's right where it should have ended. And you start seeing the stats. I think that would have been a 4 or 5 star movie if they had done that. They kind of proceed to give you the stereotypical ending. I'll say, for lack of a better term, and
Like a
I
bunch of
think
text.
what's that?
Was it like a bunch of text, or is it like an action? Like
No,
I
no,
guess.
no, no. I mean, it keeps going. Like it doesn't
Okay.
stop there. And it proceeds to go on to like him, being like the big hero and doing the big hero thing. And not that that's bad, but from a movie going perspective, like we've seen that done to death, and I kind of think that takes away from it a little bit. It sounds bad because it almost sounds like I'm rooting for the kids to not get saved, but I think the real reality of the situation is they don't always get saved, and I think to be honest with your audience about that would have been a better ending. Um, but I do still think like you might enjoy it, and then actually, you know what? Now that we're talking about it, there are some thrilly suspense moments through it. So not 100% that genre, but it incorporates that. I mean, so I would have. I was gonna ask you if it seems like something that you would watch, but like I think you already kind of said that like if somebody asked you, you might go.
Yeah, it might be a thing where like I might go, but like I'm definitely not just gonna go on my own. I'll probably go with someone
Right,
to see it.
right, right. That I mean that makes sense, and I'm assuming with it being sold out the day I tried to go see it, like that was the case. I'm sure a lot of people were bringing people to go see it. Um, I gave it a 3 out of 5. Um, I don't think it was bad. I think it was just a pretty safe movie for lack of a better term. Um, but it doesn't mean it was bad. And if you get a chance, maybe give it a looky loo. Maybe if you see it on a streaming service or something, and you're like, oh hey, I'm bored. Um, what was the last movie I sent you a thing for?
I think it was Insidious, like the final. I don't know if it's the final. Like I know there's a bunch of them. It's one of the new Insidious movies, right?
It's yep, it was called Insidious The Red Door.
Okay, all right,
Quote unquote Insidious 5. It's the fifth one.
okay.
Do you have any back history with any of the Insidious movies?
I have almost no history with any of them. As I say it right in the
Well,
front, I
yeah,
am not into this like spooky. Like I
yeah,
watched the
you did.
trailer. I'm
Yep.
aware of. I'm aware of the like series like very vaguely. I know
Okay.
that like
I was just
I
saying
isn't
you
like
said
a
you said almost no, which tells me there's something.
yeah. I know it's like an ongoing series. Is there like a nun? Is there a nun involved? Like a spooky nun? Am I thinking of? And not
Different horror
necessarily in this
series.
one. Yeah.
You're thinking of the Conjuring movies. That's
Okay,
they spun the
uh,
nun out of that.
okay, but I know in like it's like possessions though in Insidious, right? Like
Sure, yeah, mostly, yeah. As
yeah,
possessions, hauntings, same kind of, same side of the street.
yeah.
Um, Even not having the history, what do you think the this particular entry is supposed to be about? Just given
So
what you saw.
okay, so I don't have a lot of the context, so I'll give you as
Mhm.
much as I know. But from my
Yeah.
understanding, is that like based on the previous movies, something
Mhm.
happened with this family. Yeah, I guess apparently the
Mhm.
kids, especially, was in a
Mhm.
coma because of one of the previous events, and the main character, the dad,
Mhm.
uh, like he's like I think something happened to his either memories or his like just his brain in general that like I think he's still haunted by this thing and he's just trying to move past it.
Mhm.
And like and I think I'm not sure that that woman's his wife or like I know there's a woman, a man, and a son. I don't know if they're married or not, but I know that he's going off to college and
Mhm.
like I guess they never really like had to talk about what happened to him, and I think that he's gonna find out one way or another.
Okay.
And especially with the weird door thing where he draws the door,
Mhm.
and I think Insidious like the door is like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like that's like a like part of the series. That's like a thing, right? Is like the door. I don't know if I'm just like talking out of my butt here, but I think that but anyways, from my understanding, it's the kid finding out everything, and then the dad dealing with his memories, and then spooky ghosts.
Pretty much. So, I guess right up front here, and this is sort of an endemic problem of some sequels. I mean, some sequels are great with that need zero context. Like for example, maybe one of my favorite slash maybe one of your favorite superhero movies, Spider-Man 2, right? Spider-Man 2, you can have the backstory or you cannot and enjoy the film all on its own, right? Like the backstory helps, but like you could jump into Spider-Man 2 and just watch him fight Doc Ock and all that stuff and just totally be fine. Um, a fifth entry into a series is really hard to set up like an easy entry point for, but at the same time, as a audience viewer, that's not your job. That's really the creator's job to be figuring out. So to put you in a position where when you watch it, you picked up on it right away. There's stuff from previous films that you don't know about. And I have a really hard time recommending films like this to anybody because it's like, if you're not familiar with the series, why would you go watch it? Right. And like a lot of times Hollywood tries to put out these movies that don't have the numbers in them anymore. Like they did Insidious 1, 2, 3, and then they started to just call them Insidious and then like add whatever name pertained to it. And it's meant to be like kind of like entry points so it doesn't scare you away. You're like, oh, it's a fifth movie, whatever. And I think in that respect they failed with this one. It really does require you to have watched the previous movies, and it really banks on your prior knowledge to help fill in gaps here where some sequels would either fill you in or make the previous films less consequential in what you need to know. As far as actual Insidious though, the series as a whole is about people that can kind of astral project, and they and the kind of the spirits that they sort of attract and are haunted by, because when they are astral projecting, they kind of are in like they're kind of like walking through the spirit realm, and if they kind of draw too much attention, then spirits, demons, other things kind of follow them back when they come back. And it kind of goes something like the first movie, the son who's all grown up in this new one, but is a little kid in the original, is haunted by something. Him and dad, astral project and get back, and hey, we escaped the thing. Movie 2, hey, it's the opposite. Now dad gets stuck in the thing and the kid has to save him. And then 3 and 4 were prequels, and now we're back with the family again. So there's a lot of cool setup for things in the universe for Insidious, but their execution isn't great, which is unfortunate. I think maybe if they had a steadier hand guiding the story, it could be really cool. Like the place that they go in the astral project is called the Further, and the doors, like there's a door, like doors are kind of keeping demons or spirits in, and if somebody futzes around with a door, something's getting out. But there's a red-faced demon that you see in every single one of the movies that they've given zero backstory on as of the fifth movie.
That doesn't seem very good.
So, I gave this one, only gets this if you're actually I'm giving it a qualified 3, which really only means it's a 3 if you watch the other Insidious movies, and it probably means less than nothing if you haven't.
So I will say something about the trailer. Yeah. I did think the trailer was actually pretty good. Like, okay. if I'd seen the other movies, it would make me want to see this one, because there was like a mystery of like what's going on and stuff like that. So I thought, like, I will say out of the 3 movies, I think it was like the best, well put together trailer. But probably it's because it was like the least indie of them all. It had the biggest budget, so like it had the most backing. So,
I'm curious to see like what the alternate universe Nabil and Tyler would be talking about if this was a movie that you did have the context for. Would the trailer seem as good if like with what you would have in your knowledge bank?
all right, but yeah, I'd probably seem more generic if I knew. But like, I don't know, as like
Yeah.
not knowing and like I
Yeah.
don't know. I thought the trailer was pretty good. I'm not gonna see it. I mean, I'm gonna be. I definitely don't plan on seeing it. And
That's
I try to like
mhm.
these three movies. I try to do no research. Like when you send me the trailers, I try not to look
And
into them. I don't.
that's really what I hope. I mean, like I don't ever tell people that they can't, but I want as authentic a reaction information as possible from you. So that's good though. That I mean, when it comes to my discussions with people on the pod here, it often kind of comes down to can I either help steer you towards something worth watching or can I keep you away from it? And I think it almost was in descending order today. Like I would heavily recommend the first one. I would like moderately recommend the second one, and I would say only watch this if you're a diehard fan. Those were the ones that we were going to talk about today. Is there anything that you are particularly excited for, like upcoming, that's not out yet?
I can't really think of anything like off the top of my head. I know if I had like a if I had
Hmm?
like a map or
List?
something, yeah, if I had a list, I'm pretty sure I could like point things out.
Mhm.
Um, I have some stuff in my personal life. I've moved and got a new job and stuff like that. So like this last month in particular, I haven't really had a lot of time to go see a movie. I think I saw Indiana Jones is the last movie I've seen, but
What did you think of that?
um, it was very okay. It was like like some people
Uh,
said it was really good, and some people said it was really bad, and I'm like it's fine. I think
yeah,
that it could have been better,
a
but
little
like
shorter.
it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah. I think the 2 hour, 35-minute mark plus 15 minutes of trailers was a little much. They probably could
I
have. I think when I described it to one person, do you know how most of these Indiana Jones movies have like the typical chase scene? This one actually had two or
too.
almost three. We had the train one, the forces in the city, and Tangier. I actually think you could have cut at least one of those, like probably New York. The train one was cool, and I think Tangier was cool. New York, you could take or leave,
Yeah,
um, just for the
that,
sake of time.
yeah. The one where like they I think it was Tangier, right? Where they're in the city, the
Yeah,
like
she's getting
the tiny
chased by like
vehicles.
her. Yeah, she's getting
Yeah,
chased by like her pseudo fiance, and also they're trying to keep up with the people who have the half of the dial, and
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. That was pretty good. That was a good chasing. I like that one. I do agree with you that near the end is when I was like I don't have to do any spoilers, but like the end where like the big thing happens. I was kind of
yeah.
like, all right, when is this like? I mean, I kind of expected something like that because every single Indiana Jones movie has like a that moment, you
The
know.
Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, like a weird thing because like in the
Here's the
first
magical.
movie,
Here's the magic. Yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
in the first movie, you got the thing that blows up all the Nazis and
yeah, yeah,
but yeah, I I was kind of over it at the end there, but once it ended, I was like, oh, this is fine. Like
yeah.
I could see why people were like, I can like didn't like it, and I can also see why people did like it. But like, I think overall it's a very medium movie, and I
Just
heard it didn't do too well, and I can definitely see why it didn't.
I was I was very surprised that like the day on July 4th where I was expecting everybody to be in Indiana Jones while I slipped into this indie movie was sort of the opposite. Like I could have gone and seen Indiana Jones again because it was like that versus Sound of Freedom being full. Um, I know there's an anime movie coming out this week. I don't know if you ever actually watched the anime for it. I hadn't, so like it's not on my radar of stuff to watch. But Psycho-Pass.
Yeah. So yes, and it's tough because that
Mhm.
anime is like, so some anime are like really good and like Psychopaths. But the problem is that they'll make a season and then like 4 years later they'll make another season and then like 5 years later they'll do like another thing and like we're like 15 years in since I've seen the original. I mean, it's not literally 15 years, but I think it's like 8 years since I've seen the original season, and I'm just like, man, I don't remember. Like, like they did the same thing with
I I
I forget
just
what.
had something happen like that happen on a different man. Yeah.
Yeah, and like it's hard to like, yeah, it's hard to get invested in it. But it's been so
I mean,
long.
they
I
do it
don't.
with a lot of them. I mean,
Yeah.
they'll like they they just like greenlit seasons. Mhm. Yeah. Also, Mission Impossible is this week. I don't know if you ever watched any of those. I actually haven't, and I'm gonna have to like go back and catch up on all those before like Wednesday or Thursday. But yeah, those are the big highlights. I think trying to think excited for that you probably would like to if I know you like I think I know you. Oppenheimer.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's a good one. I
Yep.
um I want to see that one. Mission Impossible is tough. I saw the last one, but
Oh, did
like
you?
I did. There's just so many of them. It's just hard. Like it feels like it
I
kind
got
of
six
feels like,
movies to catch up on.
yeah, it kind of feels like the fast movies where it's just like
You're the second person to tell me that today. It's probably
yeah. I
true
mean,
then.
I could definitely see why then. It's just if I don't know. I feel like if if they were to make like the last one, I think I'd be more interested. But like, who knows? They could make like
Well,
four
it's a
more of
part
these
one, so
things.
we already know there's a part two.
Right, right. I just mean like the series in general. But yeah,
Yeah. And Cruz actually, I saw in an interview the other day when he was press touring for this, if they said if these were going to be the end, and he said he's willing to keep making them. So all that really tells me is he won't die. Yeah.
oh boy.
Right. That's a
I
perfect.
mean,
That's perfect.
oh, to answer your question from earlier, there is a
Oh,
movie that I am excited to see that I forgot about. It's the new Turtles movie, the new TMNT. The Some people aren't hyped about it, but like it looks like from the trailer, it looks pretty good.
I have very mixed feelings on it. I'm excited because I like Seth Rogen. I'm excited because I like the art style overall. I'm really not loving how they made them look. Them specifically, like the art all around them looks beautiful, like they're jumping right out of a comic. I'm not huge on the design because it looks just like the Kitty Nickelodeon cartoon version that's been running for the last like 5, 10 years, and like it almost to me feels like a downgrade, like because I've seen better. I mean, like the '90s Turtles look phenomenal, and somehow we're like
That's true.
30 years in the future, and like they look okay. So, but I mean, I'll see it, and I'm sure I'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I feel like I see what you're saying. I think
Mhm.
the only counter to that would be like every movie I've seen of them, they're like adult. They're not adults, but they're like pretty like close to like young adults. They're like teenagers, but like they're pretty big and like
Yeah.
I feel like they're like already
Hmm.
pretty much established. So like
Yeah.
seeing them as like super
Actual
young is
teams.
like, yeah, it does seem a little nice, as opposed
Yeah.
to like,
More appropriate.
yeah.
That's fair. Well, you let me know what you think of that when you see it. Same with anything else you watch in the near future. I thank you for being on with me today.
I thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. And for you guys out in the interwebs, this has been another episode of Movies in Minutes. And your host, Nabil Khan. Catch you guys next time. Bye, Tyler.
little things, the little things you do. Oh, baby, just you do me like you do. It's your touch in the morning and a kiss in the night. I love how you move me and hold me so tight. It's those little things, the little things you do. Oh, baby, just you do me like you do. Maybe you can't stop the rain, but I'm warm just thinking of your smile. Darling, there are no words to explain. For you, I walk 100 miles. 50, 225, 10. For sure, one. Always fix my coffee just the way that I like, and you always answer when I call. Even though you cover all those little things, ain't nothing about you is small. This world is so crazy, makes me sad, makes me blue. But with you here beside me, I know we'll get through. Back to those little things, the little things you do. Oh, baby, just you do me like you do. Oh, please, baby, just you do me like you do.
So what are some of those little things, honey?
You carry my guitar when that walk is too far. You drive the long drive.
We share the quiet in the car,
You know when to talk.
and you know when to not.
You give me the starting note,
You laugh at all my jokes.
and you leave that porch light on when I'm coming home late.
You never grump about closing that old gate.
You reach all the high things,
I change your strings,
coffee in bed,
flowers by the bed,
everything in bed.
except
This world is so broken, makes me sad, makes me blue. But with you here beside me, I know just what